Okay.
I'm not sure we can get order.
All right, this is the Kern Valley Healthcare District Board of Directors meeting on January 9th, 2023. Welcome, everyone. Our first order of business is approval of the agenda. And I'd like to make one modification to the agenda at this time. After the mission statement, B3, I'd like to add oath of office because Gene Parks and myself both need to be sworn in as newly elected board members. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, then I'll go on to flag salute. And Carrie, would you mind leading us in a flag salute? Sure. And then following that, Catherine, could you do our invocation?
I can.
Thank you.
Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Lord, I just want to come before you and thank you for the rain. Lord, our community needs it along with all over the world, I would believe. But I want to ask that you be with us as we stand here and do your bidding, Lord, for the benefits of the hospital in our community, that you be with each one of us as we choose our words wisely and we choose our words kindly, Lord, that we are here to do what is, again, best for the hospital and the community. I ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you both. Statement appears on the agenda, everyone to read and review. And so we will go to oath of office. And Catherine, our secretary, will administer the oath of office to both Jean and I. Jean, can you hear her okay?
Yes, I sure can.
Okay.
Are you pulled over?
Yes, and now I can't swear on my phone though. Is this, I got to swear an oath of office?
Yes, you do, but no swearing.
Yeah,
Okay,
no
I'll cover my
profanity.
phone. I'll cover
have
my
to-
phone up when I swear.
And you have to raise your right hand. Can you drive with one hand?
Yes,
Okay, we'll see. Hey, if you'd raise your right hand and then repeat after me. First say your name. I
I,
Ross
Gene
Elliott,
Parks,
do solemnly swear
do
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance
I will
bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and
and the Constitution of the State of California.
that I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without mental reservation or purpose,
of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
I will
and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon
which I'm about to enter.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You did it so good. I feel so much better, Catherine.
Well, when someone did it for me, they were so fast, I was like, so I thought I would make it where I could understand what I'm
You
doing.
made that very painless. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. I'm free for any other type of, meetings,
Do you do
events.
weddings?
Well, I can. Or I know someone that can, let's put it that way. Okay, thank you. And again, congratulations, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
move on to item C, which is public comment. And this portion of the meeting is reserved for members of the public to make comments to this board on matters that are under our jurisdiction, but are not appearing on today's agenda. And Jean, are you a member of the public who wants to be heard?
I want to test what our attorney there just told us. No, no, I was just curious because I had seen it somewhere else and my mind wandered.
Okay.
They,
All
they,
right. Are there any other members of the public wishing to be heard? Okay, seeing none, then we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda are items that staff considers routine and non-controversial and will be approved in one action altogether by the board unless a member of the public or a member of the board wishes an item pulled for individual discussion. Do we have any member of the public wishing an item to be pulled?
Question I have is on page 11, section H, which I believe Mr. McGlue was going to have some comments to make on that, but do we need to pull it to discuss it?
We can.
Okay,
Which
That was just the update to the carpeting thing.
correct.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that part of my report.
which agenda item is it?
I'm sorry. Agenda
The board-
item H.
Yeah, the board had approved that measure and we were within the limits that the board had approved. So I'll give the update on that in my report.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, sir. It's in item 2.
so we'll pull it for
You want
discussion.
to pull it or you want me to just respond to my report?
No, I'll go ahead and pull it. So there's not any question about the
Okay.
board discussing it.
Okay.
It'll be item 2, the building and planning meeting minutes from December 27th. Looks like there's a typo on that line, 23.
I have no.
Are there any other items that anyone would like?
Ross,
Discussing. Yes,
on
Gene?
that, now, is this approving the minutes from the last meeting in the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay, and where were we going over Tim's thing? I was confused because he said that he didn't want to make his mind up then, and then we voted to make his mind up is the way I read it.
Something
Yeah,
like that.
I think that's the way I read it too.
Okay, well, as long as Tim's okay with us making his mind up,
Whatever you want to do.
okay.
So
Okay.
Fred has pulled that item from consent, so we'll consider that
okay.
separately.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't print my thing, so I'm sitting here
Sure.
uneducated.
That's okay. So we're pulling that. We're going to discuss that in a couple minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item 2?
I will motion as such.
Okay,
I'll second.
thank you, Catherine. Any discussion? All right, John, your vote? Oh, John, you're muted.
No, he's gone.
He was there.
He's back on.
No, he's frozen. There he is.
Oh, sorry, did I get disconnected? I apologize.
There we go. Okay. I need your
Sorry.
vote.
Yes, is that for the consent minus those 2 items?
Minus the second item, yes.
Okay, yes, I vote yes.
Thank you, John. Jean, your vote?
Yes,
Fred?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes,
And I'm a yes. So our consent agenda is approved. Let's take up that item D2 right now. The building planning meeting minutes. And Fred, what specifically did you want to question?
We were having a discussion and a challenge with the way it was presented. That Mr. Easterday was having issues that the board had approved the bids as presented, but we wanted a local bid
For the carpet.
for the carpet, and he was not completely pleased that we were going out to bid again. He feels that once we had discussed it, it was the closed matter, and I wanted to proceed as such. But my understanding is they did go out for local bids, and we have numbers to discuss, and Mr. McGlue is going to share that information with us.
Tim, could you share that with us now since we're discussing it?
Yeah, we did go out to the local vendor, Isabella Flooring, And they did in fact give us a bid that was $1,800 cheaper than the minimum bid that the board had approved. Or they gave us a dollar threshold to stay underneath that. And so we have gone ahead and executed that agreement with them, and that carpet will be installed here, I believe, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So it was comparable quality, but at a cheaper price. And so again, our preference was to go ahead and use the local vendor for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So it looked like, I think our intent was to do exactly what I said, a dollar threshold, get bids from local vendors and hire the cheapest one. And it sounds like that's what occurred.
Correct. And no dollar amounts were shared with anybody, and nothing had been released publicly at that point. And so, again, it was everything on the table is being the same. So.
Right.
Let me just chime in for a sec and say, generally it is illegal to try and do local preference under California's public bidding statutes. So we just need to be careful about that and make sure that we're not limiting bidding to local contractors or suppliers. Though what agencies will do is they will often make sure that the local contractors and or suppliers get a copy of the bid if they may not be, part of the Green Book or looking at any of the online websites. But the purpose of the public bidding statutes is to get the lowest responsible bid, and local preferences are not generally part of that. So we just need to be careful to make sure that we're not limiting ourselves to that.
Correct.
Okay, Scott?
And the low bid was the one that we chose.
Scott,
Yeah.
in our area, Bakersfield is considered local to a point. I mean, what do you do in a case like that?
Yeah. So you guys want to get as many bids as possible to get the best deal possible for the use of taxpayer funds. And so going to Lancaster, Palmdale, Ridgecrest, Bakersfield, Fresno, even LA, depending upon the size of the project, you should at least be soliciting bids or including bidders from those areas to make sure that you are getting the greatest number of responses, proposals from bidders. And it may be that the bidders that are, farther away, Fresno or LA or whatever, their bids may just be higher because they're traveling or they have extra expenses or whatever, and that's fine. But you want to be sure that you don't just limit yourself to the Lake Isabella area, that you include. I would think for where you are, Palmdale, Lancaster, Ridgecrest, Bakersfield, and even for larger projects, Fresno are probably areas and regions that you would want to get bids from.
But Scott, we also don't want to exclude our locals, and that's what had happened.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely not. You don't want to exclude anyone. And oftentimes, small local contractors aren't looking at, I think they're called the Green Books, or they're not on the websites for the public bids. And so contacting them directly to let them know that you're bidding this project is absolutely fine. And it's a great thing to do for the local economy.
Agreed.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Okay, so are the minutes then satisfactory to you
Absolutely.
as written?
Yes.
Would you like to make a motion to approve them?
I'll be glad to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Do we have a
I'll
second?
second.
Thank you, Kathy. John, your vote?
Yes.
Dean?
Okay, that's in consideration that we pulled those the things about the minutes.
The minutes. We're just approving the minutes from.
Okay, yes,
December
yes.
27th.
Yes, then yes.
Okay, thank you. Fred?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. So our minutes are approved. Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, then that brings us to the reports, the foundation report. Hey, Debbie, you're there. You'll need to take yourself off. Oh, you did. Good. You're on it.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
I don't have a lot to report for the foundation because we are getting ready for the Heart Walk, so that's moving forward. And the auxiliary, they have closed the auxiliary down for them. They're doing painting right now, and it's starting to look much nicer. And then, of course, the carpet will be there shortly. And for the month of December, the auxiliary brought in just a little over $11,000.
Wow.
Fantastic.
And that's my reports.
Thank you, Mrs. Hess.
Can I make a statement
Yeah,
or a
please.
question or whatever? I'm not, I've noticed, since I've been going back and forth, and using the freeway most of the time, it's really littered in the back of there. Piles of clothes, so I don't know if there's something we can do to get that cleaned up.
Are you
Yeah.
you're talking from the freeway looking into the auxiliary in the back there?
Yes,
Inside the yard or outside?
Outside.
outside.
But it's really bad.
Is it?
There's a tent.
Oh, there's like someone set up like a tent camp back
There's a
there.
homeless encampment there.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, I've noticed that, but this is clothing spread completely across the back part of it. Like, I don't know if it was like someone threw it over the fence. I don't think that happened, but I'm
No.
just saying, it looks really,
Well, I know they're very careful making sure, especially because of the rain, they've put everything on in those train things and the I was there this
I'm not
morning.
sure. I'll ask the guys from facilities to get on and take a look, Catherine.
okay, well, I just drove by it again today twice and
Okay, good. All right.
it's out there, so.
Yeah, I noticed like there was a mess out there with that tent that was set up. There was stuff strewn all around. It's on the outside of the fence, which is not our property. And so, as a matter of fact, what I want to do is see whether or not I can't reach out to the owner of that property and see whether they would be interested in donating it to us, primarily to put that under our control so that we can do something different about controlling access back there. Because that's where a lot of the thefts have come from, and people jumping over the fence and so forth, people cutting the fence. So.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Debbie? No. All right. Then
Thank
we
you,
will
Debbie.
move to-
I do have a question, Ross.
Yes.
How many days a month are they open right now?
They're open 3 days a week, so that would be 12 days a month.
12, okay. So it's roughly $1,000 every day they're open.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, thank you.
It's better than it used to be.
Okay, item 3, medical staff report. Hello, Dr. Finstead.
Hi there. Thank you, Ross. So December was a relatively quiet meeting as far as the medical staff was concerned. However, we did have a bioethics committee on December 6th. They reviewed and discussed resolution of some of the cases they've been working on last year. Then they also discussed some issues for the coming year as far as topics to explore at their meetings. The Infection Control Committee met on December 7th, and they reported they had tried a new cleaning product for the skilled nursing facility that did not work out, and they're staying with the original or the current product. They also reviewed their regular reports, which are quite extensive. Most of them relating to environmental surveillance, hand hygiene, and those types of things. And then along with that is review and monitoring of antibiotic usage in quite a number of different areas. In particular, the antibiotic stewardship program is a very active program. We have expert help from infectious disease with Dr. Phil Azarta, so that's quite helpful. And then finally, the Utilization Review Committee met on December 21st. They discussed denials of payment and authorizations for admission, which continue to be a chronic problem probably will be resolved when civilization is no longer in existence. And then they also reviewed the average length of stay. That has been improving from from August through November, with the goal of having the average length of stay for patients at 4.0 days. A couple of the biggest issues is it's very difficult to get people transferred. That mostly affects the ED, but we also end up getting admissions for people that really, it comes down to there's a social psychiatric placement problems for these people, and they end up they get their medical issue treated. There's no safe discharge, and that can take weeks sometimes to find a place and stuff. But other than that, they also reviewed the medical records and the monthly worksheets. That's the end of my report, unless there are any questions.
Board members, any questions for Dr. Finstead?
No, sir.
No, not at this time. Thank you.
No,
Thanks,
You're
Dr.
more than welcome.
Okay, we'll move on to our Chief Executive Officer report. Mr. McGlue.
Great, thank you. Again, in line with COVID, you're going to hear it a couple more times before we're done, I'm sure. We have had an outbreak in our SNF unit. We have currently 17 residents that have COVID, excuse me. And none of them serious. We had one patient who was having a little difficulty of breathing that was transferred to our ER. And a decision was made to transfer that patient to Bakersfield. But all the others are very mild cases and so forth. And so again, it's just something we're trying to stay on top of. We had one staff member apparently that came in, did not know they had it, tested and found out they were positive. And they were sent home immediately. But like I said, by that time, we believe that, again, they came in contact with a number of the residents over there. This new variant that's out is apparently extremely transmissible and so forth. So, and again, because we don't type every type of variant that comes up that we test for, we don't know whether it's a new variant or not, but it is here in California. We are having another meeting with the VA this coming Thursday to discuss the provisions of care here in the Valley. They, I believe, want to do a tour of the facility and hospital afterwards. So working with John on that and Mark. So I'm going to keep that process moving forward. And then also have a meeting on Friday, excuse me, with the Bakersfield American Indian Health Program. They will be coming up again to visit with us, also to take a tour of the facilities. And see if there's a possibility there that we might be able to begin providing some services for the tribe up here. And so they're very, very interested in getting this done. We are continuing implementation of our new system, our HR system, and have been working on reviewing our policies and our pay practices so that make sure that those are consistent and compliant with regulations. It's a great time for us to make changes that we need to. And so we'll do that all at one time. We've been dealing with Scott on that, and I thank Scott for his help on that. And so, again, that's just keeping moving just to get this thing done. Then had meeting with the new owner of the radio station, two of the radio stations up here, to discuss their priorities and the strategies for changing their broadcasting and how that's going to look, and also how they plan on increasing listeners and so forth. So I was very pleased by what I heard. So we're kind of talking about, what we've done marketing wise with them and so forth, and we'll continue. They have acquired the station from Charlie, and they've actually moved the station. It's no longer up behind the Taco Bell place there. They're across the lake over in Wilford Heights. And we'll be broadcasting from there. Then Greg and I have been we'll be interviewing a candidate later this week. I believe it's on Wednesday or Thursday. Thursday, excuse me, for a family practice physician, and who's coming in from out of town. We are hopeful, and with that will go well. Very experienced individual versus the new grads that we've kind of been experiencing lately, and some that we've looked at. So again, I think we're doing everything we can to try and get both the family practice physician as well as another PA or mid-level nurse, or the nurse practitioners, and so forth, just to kind of round out our staffing in there. With some of the other things that we've got that we're looking at possibly doing with the community, expanding our provision of care with the school districts and so forth, we're going to need that extra staffing. So that is ongoing.
Tim, is that to replace Sarah?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me think here. Also working with the Kern Valley Sun's new owners with regards to our marketing plans and what we're looking to do with that. So Deb and I are working on that. One of the big things that kind of threw a wrench into us here just this last week, late last week, was the state sent us packets for all of our residents in the SNF. The vast majority of our residents are on straight Medi-Cal for their care. And the state, under the new Cal-AIM program, has decided that they're not going to have straight Medi-Cal anymore. They want everybody enrolled with a managed care program. So our residents have been told that they have until January 14th or 17th, there's two groups, to select a provider. Well, we have a contract with Kern Health Systems to provide Medi-Cal services in the SNF. We did not have one with what's the one I'm thinking of? Health Net. And so got a hold of Andy working, our contracts person, right away on Friday. He has reached out to Health Net, his person there. He has been calling them today to follow up to see what we can do about getting the rates established for us. Worst case scenario is that we would enroll everybody into Health Net, our Current Family Health, until the Health Net agreement is in place, and then they can choose which plan they want to be a part of. It's just been really complicated because what happened is BFMC, who's the largest provider of our Health Net patients up here, basically sent a letter out indicating that they were automatically enrolling all of their members into Health Net, and apparently that came from a state rule that was put in place where if a resident or patient had a Medicare Advantage program through one of the major health plans, and they also had a corresponding Medi-Cal program in that county, that they would automatically be enrolled in that same plan that they had their Medicare with. And so that's why that letter came out from BFMC. But BFMC admitted that, again, the group themselves would only be responsible for the first 100 days with a new resident. And then beyond 100 days, you has to be a direct payment contract with the health plan. And so that would be, in this case, Health Net, which we didn't have a contract with. So anyway, we are moving forward to try to close that loop very quickly. We have one of the issues from a timing perspective is, like I said, this has to be done by next week. And if the resident is not capable of signing that package and choosing which plan they want to be in, it has to be a family member or a legal representative of the patient or the resident. And so that may make it difficult for some to sign up. We're gonna have to track them down and get somebody here to actually give us a physical signature. So we're working on that. And so that's my report.
Tim, we talk once in a while on that prescription drugs. Have you learned anything about the preferred?
Yeah, I reached out to Andy, and Andy is contacting all four of those plans. I think we talked about Fall Care, we talked about Brand New Day, we talked about
Humana.
Yes, Humana, and there was one other.
Okay.
Yeah, he's reaching out to all of them to see what we can do to get on that.
All right.
Preferred.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
Any other questions, comments for Tim?
I have a question. Tim, as far as getting a hold of someone to do the signature for the residents,
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure. Is it because they don't have family members? Because, I mean, if we have them and we're given different medications or whatever, we should have contact with somebody.
Correct. We just have to get them here. Sometimes they may be out of town or maybe out of state, so like I said, where we can call them and get that authorization for prescription, but where we have to actually sign papers for them, that's where we've got to kind of get to them. So, and then we have some, like I said, who aren't able to, because of disabilities or whatever, that they're not able to sign for themselves. And some don't have family or residents or friends near here. So,
Right, but-
and we've got to work through the courts to obviously
But
get
you can go through the ombudsman with
absolutely.
those issues.
You bet.
And those that aren't local or you can't we do something where they're able to have a notary go to their home or something?
Yeah, we're working that out with the state.
Okay,
So
thank
we
you.
want to make sure we get everybody's done.
Tim, they should be able to do, they've got systems in place for recording phone calls.
Yeah.
And it works the same as a notary. So
Right.
it should be pretty easy process.
Yeah, we think so. Like I said, it's just like I said, we learned about this late Friday, and like I said, with 1 week to get this done. So we just got no notice from the state. So it was just a little frustrating.
Carrie, are we set up to do any kind of electronic signatures online?
No, we don't have an actual service for that. We can make a document electronically signable, but
Yeah, we have DocuServe that we could use.
All right.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question, is if you could do a electronic signature or something like that to kind of streamline the process.
Right. We've done that with a number of contracts and so forth. Like I said, it's whether the state will accept something like that, I don't know. I don't have that information just yet. That's why we're reaching out with them, because that would certainly make it easier.
Tim, again, HealthNet or whichever company you're dealing with is hooked up with them, and you should use theirs, and they have everything you can get, electronic, telephone recording.
Right.
So you shouldn't have an issue.
Yeah, I'm not expecting it. Just like I said, it's just one of the things that we've got to get done in this next week. That's all.
All right. Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll turn to our Chief Nursing Officer report, Mr. Gordon.
Well, I made it back west of the Rockies. It took planes, trains, and automobiles, but I'm here.
And then I'll let you go next year.
Yeah, right. Maybe in the summer.
Right.
So the COVID numbers, I usually report COVID numbers. December, we're about 4.6 right now. They're creeping up in January. They're about 6.2% right now. The influenza dropped dramatically in December to 0.5%. And we haven't had any flu in January that I can see so far. So that's pretty good. The rides to Bakersfield and around the valley are really progressing well. I think they're doing 10 a day. So that's an exciting thing. Dave and I have spoken about, or not spoken, but we emailed about a potential rate fee that we could implement once our grant funding runs out. We may have to go that route, where it would be the normal, I think it's 58 cents a mile. And then we would charge the minute rate of the employee, the driver's time. So it turns out it's around $20 from Kernville, and it's about $10 from Isabella, roughly. So we think those numbers will work, and then we can submit to some of the health plans that are willing to pay for things like that. For rides to Bakersfield, some of the health plans offer, I don't know how many, like 8 or 10 rides to Bakersfield annually or something. So we can tap into some of those things. The patient would pay for that ride, and then they would submit the reimbursement or the invoice to their insurance to be reimbursed. So there's a few irons in the fire that we have to work out, but we're moving forward. We don't want this program to stall out at all. I think it's doing a great service for a lot of people.
Hey, Mark,
Yeah,
this is Ross, a question on that. And maybe you and Dave can get your heads together on this. I think if we try and recoup every single cent on what it costs us to provide that service, it's going to end up being too expensive and people won't do it. And if there's a benefit to us that they're coming to us for services, maybe we somehow make those numbers not recoup every single penny of the transport costs and focus on what we're getting for the services that are being provided. Because, you know, $20 from Kernville, it's an expensive ride.
Yeah, is that round trip?
no, that's one way.
Yeah,
The trouble is fuel is, you know, $5 a gallon. And I mean, we can certainly, if we're getting, so what we're doing is we're offering rides to all of the clinics, not just our own clinics. And yeah, we are recouping that from the physical therapy appointment and from the making sure that they get to their clinic appointment and those kinds of things. But we're also giving them rides to the pharmacy and back, to the dentist. I don't know, Dave and I will have to look at some of those numbers to see how many pennies we want to pinch, or just to make it, you know, make it a flat rate of $10 a ride, no matter where they're going. You know, we could do things like that. We do have that flexibility.
Yeah.
And also,
I
you do
really-
have some of the health plans that will provide reimbursement for us. So obviously you're not talking about every ride, you know, so there's an opportunity for us. We'll collect the revenue that we can from the health plans, and then we'll have to figure out what we do with the rest of it.
Yeah. I just want to make sure we're not trying to recoup every single penny and end up destroying the
Understood.
program because it's too expensive. to
Right.
use. So,
Yeah, it's too valuable a program to let it go by the wayside, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, I looked over the spreadsheet Mark sent me, and it was a good first step because it gives us a good cost accounting approach. Then from there, we can do some kind of a flat discount approach. The reality is it's probably safe to assume that our volumes have improved when people have another way to get here and have transportation. So it only takes a couple additional visits that you never would have received at all to help pay for the program.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, so the next thing on my list is the ER is in need of purchasing new bedside monitors, and I had mentioned that we were going to see the numbers at the last finance committee meeting. I was not able to pull the bids together. I wanted to get 3 bids. I really only have access to 2. And then they didn't want to provide them to me on time for that meeting. So we're going to wait until the end of probably January and get those on that. So the bids are in the over $200,000 range. That's why I really want to be careful with how we're the bids that we're taking.
Will time be a factor? I mean, will it be okay to wait till the end of January? It shouldn't be a factor, right?
It shouldn't be a factor because the monitors we have now are still working, and the trouble is that if they go down, they're not supporting them anymore. So that's the dilemma we have.
I think the issue is whether or not there's any special pricing that you got for year end or whatever, you know, so
I don't
that
think
we
so.
would lose as a result of not making a quick decision too.
No, that wasn't part of the bid.
Could I ask you a question? It's not totally related, but has anybody heard how Kevin McCarthy's doing on being Speaker of the House?
So that's not really related. We'll go ahead and let Mark do his report.
I was joking. Thank you.
And speaking of compassion, fatigue, and burnout, the staff meetings that I'm going to be holding tomorrow and the next day, we'll be talking directly to a post-pandemic and, you know, the resurgence of the pandemic. I believe that we talked about it recently where this is no longer necessarily a pandemic, but it's endemic, and I don't think it's going away.
Yep.
So we need to really kind of realize and figure out how we're going to move forward living with COVID and COVID related problems. So one of the things I want to talk about with the nursing staff are just their how they're doing. I wrote the article for January in the newsletter regarding this very topic and how we respond to some of the stressors that we're facing. So I want to talk to my staff about it too, because it can get pretty hectic, and sometimes people need time off, like 2 weeks that I just got back from. Anyway, so that's one thing that we'll be talking about tomorrow morning and Thursday morning. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is just the trip to the Client Advisory Council committee meeting with Carrie, and I'm not sure if Tim is going to be able to go, but we're going to be going back to Alabama in February to hear the latest and greatest things from the electronic health record world that we're dealing with. So I'm excited because the nursing side is now seeing some improvement and some movement going forward. So, which hasn't happened in the 8 years we've had this product. So that's my report.
Any questions, comments for Mr. Gordon?
Yeah, on the transportation, Mark.
Yeah.
For certain people that legitimately had a real problem, I don't know quite how to say that except the way I said it. The service clubs, they like to be able to help people who need help. And if you could, and like the Bill Gates Foundation, they're supposed to be funneling money out to people who need help, and there should be some grants available for that.
Maybe we could take vouchers from those service clubs, and I'll go talk to the exchange and to the Rotary and those things, and see if they have vouchers for dishing out to people for those kinds of things. That's not a bad idea. Thanks, Gene.
Sometimes there's matching funds, so if we show where there's a need and we're supporting it, we can get other grants to support it with matching funds. I just thought, Mark.
Good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Then we will move to the Chief Financial Officer report, Mr. Recupero. Uh-oh, you're on. There you go.
Thank you, Russ. So we're gonna look at the month of November. There's not a lot new going on. I wanted to get you updated on a few things that got a couple important emails this morning. One was the completion of our fiscal 22 audit, our annual audit, and this was the number that was unaudited for fiscal 22 of 4,446,000. Our final number ended up being about 70,000 higher than that, 4,517,000. So Rick Jackson will be coming in next month to present that audit report to you at the February meeting. So that was the one significant part about that is it was probably the cleanest audit we've had in a long time. Barbara did a great job, and there were very few major reclassifications that were part of prior year audits. We did not have any of those, so they pretty much gave us a pretty good clean audit on this report. The other piece of news I got this morning was the state of California, approved our detailed submission for the employee retention credit. So what that means is because all that detail got into the state and got approved, all our associates should be receiving their checks at the regularly scheduled time that the state has authorized monies to go out to the employees, which would be, I believe, $1,500 for full-time employees and a reduction from that for part-timers. So that will be in addition to what we gave them already last month which was the $500 retention bonus. We continue to stay in contact with the federal ERC application, and that continues to move forward. We are now getting daily updates from the IRS because we're in their system and our application is in. And so far there hasn't been anything significant, but we're in the right part of the process that we continue to feel good about our chances of getting it, that 2.8 million in the next couple months or so. So because, like I said, there's not a lot of new information.
Yeah, speak it. Yeah, when you're turn your head, the microphone goes out.
Okay, we did have a good month of November. Bottom line, 336,000 net surplus. Budget of 324, so slightly ahead of budget of 11,000. We had an improvement here. This 9.9 million is up from last month. And then because I've already spent quite a bit of time on December, the December number was more closer to this budget number of 10,700,000. So we have had a stair-step increase in patient volume the last 2 months, moving up from October to November, and now November to December, a lot closer to budget as it relates to patient volumes. The one line item that caused the most significant adjustment was a favorable number, the 781,000 favorable adjustment or variance to line 10. And that was a result of our continually refining the estimates for IGTs. For example, one of the other things going on right now is they did send us all the paperwork. We're finally going to get an IGT sent out. We're going to do the matching piece in the next couple of weeks, and then we would expect payment in March. That's the big IGT that we had cut in half last year. That was only like 2.2 million last year. We thought it was going to be about 5.2 million, and it ended up being about 5.5 million. So about 300,000 higher than what we had in our estimates for that IGT that should be coming in March. In addition to that, the district hospital leadership program has put a whole new IGT program together called the direct payment report funds, and that's not going to actually start in terms of the actual cash coming in for about 1.5 years, but over the long term it has some significant potential, about 1.5 to 2 million a year of additional IGT once that program kicks in a couple of years, which from our perspective, as we look at the prospects of having enough money for our master project, we were hopeful, and then this is one good example where if the IGTs increase, it's going to make it easier for us to afford to be able to do the project. On the year to date, the only thing that's jumping out on me on the negative side is this line item 28, total operating expenses. A year ago, after 5 months, we were at 12,855,000. Our new total operating expenses for this current year, 13,530,000. That's a 5.2% increase. We budgeted about a 4% increase, so we need to keep an eye on that to make sure that we don't, because what ends up happening is that once you increase your expense structure, that has a compounding effect for future years. So we have to be careful that when we make commitments, we know that it's not just going to be for the 1 year. It has a potential to be something that gets added to the overall expense structure every year. And unless there's a subsequent change in payment rates or in volumes, then it reduces the amount available for big projects like the 34 million master project we have. So that's a big part of the what ifs when I did my pro forma, that we keep within an inflationary expense control. around the 3.5%. So as soon as we start going over 5, then we need to at least pay attention to that and see if there's anything we can do to keep those numbers in line.
Well, that was my question, Dave. Or just, again, obviously the inflation factors have been substantially higher. And so the point is ultimately, is this something we might anticipate coming down at some point in the future here?
Yeah.
Talked about developing a long-term trend, but if this is a bulk of this is associated with some inflationary issue, when those hopefully resolve, that we should be more in line again. So, I mean, obviously we have to be concerned about them, but.
And maybe it's just a matter of being more realistic on my projections, because that 3.5% number, based on what's going on in the last couple of years, may not be realistic. Yeah. So then we just need to look at what all the other assumptions are to make sure that we stay on course to hit the numbers that we need before we finish the project, that there's still money left over. So we just need to be kind of looking at reality and being honest with ourselves, what's doable. Perhaps we need a little bit larger growth in some of the other areas, or maybe we need to get a little bit better luck on IGT increases. But it's just, I'm just trying to bring that to your attention, because we are keeping a close eye on all of our assumptions moving forward, because they do have, like I say, a compounding effect over a period of 3 to 5 years. If we're not careful, before you know it, you're now in a position where what you thought was going to happen has a much bigger difference to what you're seeing in terms of the difference between the increase in revenues compared to the increase in expenses. And it's always an ongoing challenge for every hospital, because of payment rates rarely keeping up with normal inflation. So it's just, this is nothing new, but it always adds some more complexity when you try to do ambitious projects like our master project is, the $34 million project. So I'm just keeping that on the forefront as a discussion item, so that we can understand what types of things it's going to take for us to be successful financially.
Dave, what's the biggest driver in that? Is it just inflation overall, or is it our contract employees? What's driving that number?
I put it about 2 or 3 categories. I think physician fees is going to be a big one. We have a lot of contracts coming up that are going to have to be renewed at much higher rates. I view the fact that a lot of our employees at low levels, like the business office and registration, are having to get adjustments significantly higher to make up for the fact that now the comparable wages for all the other jobs in the community, because the minimum wage continues to go up. Now all of a sudden they have to ask themselves the question, do they want this type of job, or do they want an easier job at a minimum wage somewhere else? So we want to continue to show a premium pay over the $15.50 an hour for some of the lower paying jobs. That may cause our overall labor inflation to go higher than the 3.5%. So those are the 2 categories that jump out at me as being problematic. In general, supplies are also an issue, especially pharmaceuticals.
Thank you, Dave.
Other than that, we are in a pretty good shape year to date. We have our bottom line at 841, budget of 1.6 million. And again, this is so preliminary, because there's a lot of things, either good or bad, that can happen the rest of this year. I'd say, we have, the fact that we've had 0 IGTs and we're still producing it with a positive surplus is probably a good thing. And we know that the IGTs are coming in eventually, although one now is getting pushed into next fiscal year, which is about a $1.8 million hit to our projections. So every week and every month we get good and bad news. Some of it more than offsets the news we got before. And I'll just keep you guys informed right now. The combination of all the things that are changing and moving, I still think puts us in a good picture to have another good year this fiscal year. with a high probability of beating budget. And you saw that the audit, the 4.5 million audit for last year was also a nice improvement over the year before. So that's pretty much my report. If there's any questions.
Hey, Gene, just wanted to make sure you heard that last statement that Dave made about it. We're running at a profit without the IGTs.
Well, there's always room for error. Now, on the news this morning, they did say, the news I listened to, they expect next year the inflation to go down to 5%. So that's better than 10 or 9 or 7.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a very positive thing. And so,
It's,
yes,
it's obviously one of
I
those
heard him
things that,
say that. However, Russ, look at the last 12 years. And until 19, we couldn't even make our payroll. We had problems. So
True.
I don't see the difference. But hopefully everything will be rosy from here on out.
So far, so good, at least today.
yeah,
Yep. Thanks, Russ.
everything is relative, and in general, I think it's, if you hear throughout the state, the news coming from other district hospitals, I think we can feel ourselves to be fortunate because we are a rare breed with our financial picture being as positive as it is compared to the other 45 hospitals. We're probably right near the top 5 or top 10 in performing hospitals. So we could feel pretty good about that.
Great. Thank you, Dave. Any other questions, comments?
No, sir.
Yeah, I was just gonna make a comment, Dave. You know, the current month, it looks like you were, you know, the district was pretty close on meeting a lot of its financial targets. So that was good to review when I was looking at the packet.
Yep. Yeah, you can see it was my first year of budgeting, so I am pleased to see that, you know, we've got a pretty accurate budget, and the departments are sticking to their numbers.
Cool. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, and we will move on to old business, which there is none. And we have new business, a draft investment policy. Mr. Coopero, back for you.
Yes, we have a game plan put together to move forward and take advantage of the fact that especially U.S. Treasuries, the rate of return compared to most of our money being put in LAIF right now is a significant improvement over the rates that we're getting with LAIF. So we want to make the change over in the next couple weeks. And I have a detailed, I'm trying to get to that page number here.
Last page.
I think it's way down. I should have paid attention to the page number.
You're looking at the policy, or you're looking at your
The summary of it,
summaries on the last page.
very last page?
Yep.
Okay. Apologize for us taking longer than it should have here. So there's the policy, and right at the end of the policy, I thought it was more important to really kind of put it in normal words of what we're trying to accomplish. And we took the existing investment policy and we merged it with the new features that UBS, Gary Hicks, we worked on in terms of what our parameters are, what our permitted investments, and how much of each investment are we willing to invest. So that's what the new policy does. We also sent it to Scott for his review, and he made a couple minor adjustments. And so he's on board with this policy. This has already been reviewed by our legal staff. And in general, what we want to do is, out of the 25 million that we'll have by the middle and end of this year, take a fairly high percentage of it and move it around to new investments. we have the opportunities for certificates of deposit. That's has to be done in such a way that no one CD can be more than 250,000. Otherwise, it's not insured. So we have to get the FDIC insurance. The First Foundation has the capabilities of doing many CDs for us, in each one of them that would be under the limit, so that we could have those investments that are currently generating somewhere between a 3.5% and a 4% rate of return. The U.S. Treasuries, I was a little bit disappointed the last week or so that it went down about 20 basis points, but we still see some good rates of return, over 4% on taking 13.5 million, which is a significant part of our monies in a very safe investment, U.S. Treasuries. And then we also were able to renegotiate our terms with UBS so that I didn't have to be the one. You would have a party who has had experience doing all these types of investments that they do for current health systems, that they lowered their rates from 25 to 20 basis points, which is about 10,000 a year. So over a 3-year period, that's about a $30,000 savings. So it was worth the time to not to make the decision right away, because they got a little bit hungrier and were willing to come down on their rates, because they could tell we were waffling on our decision, and sometimes that helps in the negotiations. You can see the specific details. This took a lot of work to know exactly when we had to withdraw our money and use it for the project. So I have a very detailed monthly cash flow that starts this month and goes out all the way to the end of 2026. And so I know specifically what the projected cash balances are at the end of each month based on how much is being projected to be spent on the project. And so these withdrawals will come when needed so that they can be available to be spent on the project. And the value of this laddering does allow us, because we don't need a lot of money right away, to take advantage of the higher rates that are out there for a treasury that's 2 years or greater. The interest rates from the 2 to 3 year window is the highest of all the different maturities. So it's interesting that we are in a good position that the time that we need the money, we can afford to invest it and get the highest rate of return, because we don't need it for another 2 to 3 years. So we can take advantage of the way the markets are currently operating. We want to continue to have some LAIF funds. Right now, that number is 9 million. So we would go down to only 1 million of LAIF funds as part of our diversified portfolio. Have a number of different types of investments: CDs, treasuries, and LAIF. And then money market would be the third one that we have some money market opportunities with the existing 5 million that's remaining on our construction funds. I was going to look to see if we needed to make any changes on that, and I was pleased to find out that those monies are being invested in a money market earning over 3%, 3.3%. So I felt that was okay to leave that alone. So when I added up all the different investments, I calculated how much interest income we were going to receive throughout the next few years. And these amounts represent the increase over what we're currently generating in interest. So it has potential over this period of time to generate about $1 million more in interest income than if we wouldn't do anything at all.
That's terrific.
So I also had one other piece I did, which you would think is really not necessary based on our positive financial picture, but in the past I've done this and been glad I did it, because when you're doing well financially, lending institutions are willing to give you more than what you really need. Well, they're willing to bump up our line of credit to 7 million. And that's something that we can get renewed at that rate. And the other thing that they were willing to do is if we don't use the line of credit at all, there's never a cost involved. So let's say the sky falls and some major negativity happens in about 2 or 3 years. We've spent a lot of money on the project and all of a sudden we go in the hole, but we know we're going to get some relief in a year or two. Well, we can use that $7 million to help ride out any kind of catastrophic thing that could happen to us. So it's like an insurance policy that's out there without any cost to it.
Good.
So that's my report. I'm asking the board to approve the investment policy that was reviewed by Scott.
Dave, I do have one question on page 60 of the board
Okay.
packet.
Uh-huh.
Page 5 of the investment policy.
Okay.
On that little chart or table in there that it shows the percentages of each investment.
Uh-huh. This one?
Yeah. So
what it
the
means
late
is
funds, my question was on the late funds, why only 20%? Because right now we're basically 100% late funds, or at least a big.
yeah.
Why change that to such a small amount?
Yeah, it's mostly because there's a big difference between U.S. Treasury rates of return and LAIF rates of return. LAIF is paying us slightly over 2%, and the treasuries are over 4%. So I don't feel as good about having a high percentage of LAIF in there. This is something that could be changed 6 months from now, maybe at the beginning of each fiscal year. If we see those trends changing, I could go back to you and ask for an amount higher than 20% for LAIF, and I don't think it'd be any problem that we could change these terms of this policy at any time we want.
Under the best circumstances, I think, that most of the other items on here have outperformed LAIF's investments and so forth. So, part about the LAIF is obviously the liquidity issue. So
I don't have any problem if you want to approve this policy amended for LAIF. We could go up to like 50% LAIF if it just to give us more flexibility.
Yeah, I still want to hem us in. If the sky falls and LAIF is really our best option, I don't want to not be able to use it fully.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you want, if and when you make a motion to approve this, we could just go ahead and approve it with the one amendment of moving that number to 50%.
What would the cost be?
There's really no difference in cost to invest in LAIF.
Oh, yeah, there's a cost because we're getting less interest.
Good point. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't understand your question. It depends on a daily basis. The spread between what LAIF pays and what a 3-year treasury pays, changes slightly. My guess is, for every $1 million, you're probably missing out on, I don't know, 20, 30,000 a year in interest income.
It's the same. It's risky.
Roughly, what would that be? I mean, just roughly.
That would be the cost. So if you wanted to increase your LAIF percentage up to 50%, you'd be foregoing, let's say, 150,000 in interest, based on what the current rates are.
Well, that's not bad. We don't need 150,000 bucks.
So
is that on the I recorded?
This is a moving target, and based on what's currently seems to be the most favorable compared to the risk. Both LAIF and U.S. Treasuries are don't have hardly any risk at all. So either one of them would be fine to invest in. We just want to. I just don't have as much enthusiasm about LAIF at this point.
Can I make a motion that we contingent on what Russ wants to incorporate, or if he wants to put it in there. I'm fine with it.
Hey, Gene, I have other questions. If you could hold off for just a sec.
Okay.
On the item C, the commercial paper, we have it's proposed to us at 20%. Do you think that's safe, Dave? Should that be what we've done with the corporate securities at 5%?
Yeah, this is where I rely on UBS. If they have some ideas that they can say, hey, Dave, I know you're really into treasuries, but we just came across a really great deal for commercial paper that adds another 0.5% return. I just want to make sure I'm positioned for something like that, even though I don't anticipate it. It would, obviously, it adds to our ability to stay diversified. But I don't have any strong opinions on it.
All right.
May I make a comment or a suggestion?
Sure.
So section 5 is describing the types of investments that the district may make. And then after describing each of those, you have the chart there that says maximum percentage of portfolio at time of purchase. Maybe you just change maximum to recommended or discretionary.
That would create more flexibility. Yeah.
Yeah, that way you're laying out a game plan, but it gives you, as Dave just said, the flexibility to use different percentages if it makes sense.
Yeah. That does make sense.
How do we amend that?
Well,
Is it easy?
So for the policy, we'll just delete maximum and put in recommended or discretionary, and then you just approve the policy.
Okay, can I make a motion with that change? That we accept it?
Are there any other questions, Ross?
Yeah, one other question on page 58, under the commercial paper section. Item number 3, there's just a typo in the line. It says it's typed out as in excess of $500, and it should be $500 million.
Okay, we'll make
that typo.
$500. Oh, right there, the actual wording here. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Just a typo. It's nothing, not significant, but might as well get it right the first time.
Thank you. So is this a time where we're going to vote, or do you want to understand what we're asking for? I'd like the flexibility to move forward with UBS and with the specifics with these investments so that we can have a laddered portfolio in place starting to earn a much higher interest than we're currently earning.
So Gene, you want to restate your motion?
Okay, I restate the motion with the exception of what you just said to change the verbiage. And you better know how to activate it.
You want to?
So the only changes we're making are we're bumping up the LAIF to 50%, and then with Scott's recommendations, rather than say maximum, we're saying recommended portfolio.
And fixing the typo.
Yep, that's what I said.
And fixing the typo. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Fred seconds. Any discussion on this item? Questions of board members? Any members of the public wishing to be heard on this issue? Okay, then we will vote. Then John, your vote?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Dave, thank you for this.
You're welcome. It'll be an ongoing tweaking. Barbara and I have daily discussions. She's wanting the flexibility to make sure we don't have too much invested because things come up from time to time and all of a sudden we run short on cash. So I'm going to try to be careful not to over invest, even though the temptation will be there to have as much money as we can earning interest.
We'll watch it.
Day trader. All right, thank you, Dave. Okay, that brings us to the next item on our agenda is the election of officers. And so we have 5 officer positions. We've got chair. We've got first vice chair, second vice chair, treasurer and secretary. Those are our 5 officer positions. I had stated last year that I was seeking to not be the chairman again last year, and I ended up as chair. I'm hoping that I'm not chair again this year.
Does that mean you're seeking it?
I'm not seeking it.
Not open to it. How about that?
And in an effort to advance that theory, I'd like to make a motion that Fred Clark be our chairman next year. That I would actually like to serve as vice chair in either the first or second capacity. Move our John Blythe as treasurer, Gene Parks as secretary, and Catherine as our second vice or first. So I'd like consideration of that.
That's your proposed slate.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
it's my proposed slate, but we're open for discussion here. This just opens the door.
I wouldn't mind being second vice. And Catherine, she's secretary now. She knows what she's doing.
Praise God.
I would be fine with exactly the way you laid it out, except change that rather than have me as secretary. I would have to work more with Heidi then. Or I would get to work more with Heidi.
Be careful.
Heidi, do you oppose that? I'm just kidding.
Mr. Blythe, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's your input?
I don't mind serving as treasurer. I mean, I've always enjoyed the finance committee, since I've been going to meetings and all the years that Chet was there and learning what Dave is doing. But if you can't be chairman, Fred, if somebody wants to nominate me, I can try to do it for a year. But I'm kind of open, so I'm busy, but I'm open. So.
Miss Catherine, what's your opinion?
I actually don't have one. I'm happy serving wherever I am needed.
I mean, I think you do an absolutely fantastic job with, when Gene on finances. I enjoy watching the way you handle things.
Thank you. That means I'm kind, Jean.
That means she's kind and Gene's not.
So, yeah, I don't have a preference of where I serve. I do want to, continue serving wherever I am needed. So I think I have a voice appropriately in whichever capacity I'm serving.
Okay.
And I'm sort of open to, and if Catherine feels like she would rather not be secretary, I could do it, but
I'm really good at it, actually.
you are, and that's why I wanted to mention I would go back to the third vice.
Hey,
second
Catherine, we could always see if we could, bump up the stipend a little bit. That way Heidi doesn't have to do the physical minutes, but I'm joking.
All right.
So this is a good discussion. Let me make a formal motion then on a slate and see if it has any momentum then as Fred Clark as chair, Ross Elliott as first vice, Gene Parks as second vice, John Blythe as treasurer, and Catherine O'Connor as secretary.
I have no problem being chair, knowing that I got you as first to support. I know Lindy.
So
And-
is there a second on that motion for that slate?
Yeah, and would just like to make one comment. John, you were an awesome member. What am I trying to say? Chair.
Board chair.
Yeah, we normally like to switch stuff around a little bit, and you and Ross, and so that leaves the three of us to take at least 1 year and be the chair. And I don't
Yeah,
want to be the chair.
It is good to have, other board members, kind of get that experience. And, Fred, I've been on the board long enough and have been going to meetings before I got elected to kind of know how the parliamentary process goes. If you have questions, I can help. And of course, Scott is always at our meetings too, to make sure we're following the Brown Act and all that kind of stuff. So, and Ross is good at that stuff too, obviously.
Okay. But I would second Ross's, was that a motion, Ross? Or
Yes,
did
that
you-
was the motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
Thank you, Jane. Any other discussions, questions before? we vote?
So that
Could you
means
make-
I go to chair next year. Yes. All right.
Yes, you should. You should be next year.
I'm just kidding.
Uh,
Oh,
Yeah.
are we waiting for a second?
No, we have a
No,
seconded it. So
What about-
just an item for discussion now. Gene, you had more to say?
Well, could you make me third vice instead of second vice?
No such position, sir.
Oh, that way there wouldn't be much work there.
No requirement.
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. Okay, if there's no other discussion, then I'll call for our vote. John,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Okay, you have the gavel, Fred. You are now chair.
I'm now chair.
And I think we need a real gavel because it gets kind of crazy in
There
here
is a
sometimes.
gavel somewhere. You have it, right?
Yeah.
Really need that threat there.
Yeah,
Also
yeah.
between us.
Yeah. Before COVID happened, when we had the conference room set up as an actual, board meeting, we had the gavel and the nameplates, but
I remember.
yeah, I used to use that when I was board chairman. And actually, I'm really happy that this did not take 5 days and 15 votes.
Yeah, it went fairly painless compared to Congress, huh?
You guys are fun.
That can be changed if you wish, sir. All right, well,
All
Okay,
right.
Fred, I turn it over to you. You can start it with item H.
item H, director's comments not appearing. Mr. Blythe, would you like to go first?
What, that Trans Am thing, did we get to that? Didn't we put something off?
No, that was the building and planning meeting minutes, which we did already.
And the oath of office.
The conflict between what you said and what we did is what I was talking about. We were supposed to talk about that. Russ,
Forgive me, which one did we miss?
Are we talking about the flooring project, Dean?
no, what about the Tim said he wanted to wait and think about it, and we told him what he was gonna do in the very next paragraph there. Russ, you know what I'm talking about because you talked about it.
On the flooring?
That was the only thing we did.
No, okay.
Forgive
not
me,
important.
we were Talking
I
about.
On Tim's bonus situation, is it trans in, what do you call it?
Oh, that was selecting,
Tri-stem?
yeah. The
Okay.
tri-stem.
Yeah, there's two paragraphs. One, Tim said he wanted to wait to think about it, and then the very next program, we told him what we were gonna do.
Well, no,
we
there are
didn't wait.
two parts of it. One is what the hospital decides to do with its funds, and the other was what I do with my funds.
So
there's
they
two-
were
there are two parts.
separated.
Yeah, it's separate.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought they were sort of connected.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, directors, who did you call first?
Mr. Blythe.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Oh, thanks. I just wanted to congratulate you, Fred, becoming a board chairman for the 2023 year. So you'll have all the support you need if you have any questions. So yeah. just wanted to say a happy new year to everybody, and thanks for all you guys do for the district. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mr. Parks.
I'm down here in the rain in Bakersfield and everything is awesome down here and I hope you guys are doing great. And this next year should be one of our best.
I agree. Ms. Catherine.
I actually just want to say thank you for the process. I think it's gone very smooth. I'm hoping that's a hint of the coming year, and just wish COVID was gone, but that's not going to happen.
I do too. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and it was great to have Fred here.
Yep.
Yeah, that was awesome. So thank you.
Mr. Elliott.
Congratulations to you and thank you. I'm so happy that you're interested in taking this and you got the unanimous support of the entire board. So I think that bodes well for our little body, our little group as 2023 unfolds. So thank you. I want to mention, I spent some time in a hospital down in Bakersfield over New Year's Eve. And their emergency room, and as small as ours is, by God, we beat them hands down. We have such an awesome facility here. Comparing this to a big emergency room down in Bakersfield, I pick this one every time. So kudos to our amazing staff, our doctors, our contractors, all of our support staff. The people that work here are doing an amazing job, and it's what makes it so great. So thank you to everybody, and hopefully we'll have a really good 2023. We'll be done with COVID. We'll be making money hand over fist, and we'll build out this facility. Thank you.
Yeah, and Ross, just real quick, thank you for the 3 years you served as board chair. I know you came into this right when the pandemic started, but you've done a really good job the last 3 years.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody for having the confidence in me to do this, or the pain you're ready to inflict. One of the two. I promise to lean on everybody's shoulders as it's needed to ensure that I do a good job with it. And thank you to everyone for the continued hard work to make this a better place for all of us. Beyond that, I have no other comments other than to say thank you.
Thank you.
For that, I guess it's time we do closed session.
We'll adjourn into closed session.
Okay, we'll adjourn into closed session.